Hi everyone, I am going to explain exactly how to buy Bitcoin, all the different ways, and hopefully this will help give you a good lay of the land for what the options are. Okay, so if you came up to me out of the blue and said, Joel, I want to buy Bitcoin, the very first thing I would do is I would give you, $30 or $50 or $100 of free Bitcoin. And the reason for that is, and I would do it on Coinbase, the reason for that is if I gift somebody Bitcoin, it will guide them through the process of creating an account and doing ID verification, which makes it very simple if they want to buy more Bitcoin later, or if they want to track the price of Bitcoin, or whatever they want to do. So the easiest place for the vast majority of people to onboard to Bitcoin is Coinbase. Okay, so there's a lot of other ways you can buy Bitcoin. So for example, people may say, yeah, but I already have Robinhood or Venmo or Cash App or PayPal or whatever. Why don't I just buy Bitcoin on there? And the answer is those platforms do not scale. So for example, Cash App will not allow you to send or receive more than $10,000 of Bitcoin. It's either a day or a week. So as soon as you really start trying to build wealth in Bitcoin with one of the consumer financial apps, you start running into limitations. Either the fees are relatively high, even if you start buying a relatively large amount of Bitcoin, or you start running into limitations about how much you can buy or how much money you can transfer on or off their platform and things like that. So even though it would be certainly easier to get people started on Cash App or Venmo or Robinhood or PayPal or things like that, it just doesn't scale. I know that they're going to run out of headroom when they want to do things with Bitcoin that those platforms don't allow. And none of those platforms will actually let you spend the Bitcoin with a debit card the way Coinbase does with the Coinbase debit card, which actually lets you spend Bitcoin. So that is why I always recommend people start with Coinbase, because not only does it have an elegant onboarding experience, but you're not going to outgrow your need for it. It can scale as high as you want to go. I always recommend people buy Bitcoin by linking it to a bank account. You can also buy Bitcoin with a debit card, but it's limited to $750 per day. And the fees are very high to buy with a debit card because they obviously have to account for, people doing chargebacks and things like that to try to game the system. So the fees are very high if you're using a debit card. So I always recommend use Coinbase, link it to a bank account. That is by far your best option. Okay, so there are some exceptions to that. For example, if you are under the age of 18 or your children are under the age of 18, you cannot get a Coinbase account. So for that, I recommend Cash App. Again, Cash App has those limits, but most kids are not trying to move more than $10,000 on Cash App at one time because most kids have not saved up that much money to put in Bitcoin. So Cash App works really well for kids. And there's a elegant path. When you turn 18, you can just move the Bitcoin over to Coinbase, or you can keep it on Bitkey. Even better, you can keep it on Bitkey, the secure storage device that has a fingerprint reader and secures your Bitcoin and gives you lots of different backup options for all of that. So that is why I like. Cash App. It's easy, it's user friendly, and all that sort of stuff. But all of them work pretty much the same. So if you have someone under the age of 18 and they want to buy Bitcoin on Robinhood, or actually I think Robinhood requires you to be 18 as well. I don't know. Anyway, if your kid already has an app that will allow them to buy Bitcoin within it, or will allow you to gift them Bitcoin or buy Bitcoin on their behalf, obviously that's the easiest way for people under the age of 18. And because Coinbase requires you to be 18 years of age or older to get an account on Coinbase, it's not an option for kids, unless, you want to open an account and keep track of it for one of your kids. But obviously that doesn't scale, and you ought to have your own Coinbase account. So that means, it doesn't work well for that. So the consumer financial mobile apps are great for kids, but for anybody 18 years of age or older, definitely Coinbase is better. Obviously Coinbase has their own mobile app, and it integrates, just like Cash App, it integrates with Bitkey. If you want to secure your Bitcoin with Bitkey, which I recommend everyone do, as long as you have more than, let's say, $5,000 or maybe $10,000 of Bitcoin, you should definitely secure it with Bitkey. The website there is bitkey.world, bitkey.world. World, WORLD. You can also use Bitcoin-only services like River, RIVER.com, or Strike, STRIKE.com, but each of those has limitations. In the case of River, the fees are quite high, and they really don't go down unless you start, buying enormous amounts of Bitcoin. On Strike, the fees are much lower, about half of River, but on Strike, the user interface is very minimalistic. It looks like the front end of the app was built by software developers rather than designers, and that's not normally what you want to see. So Coinbase is just, again, categorically better, and in the case of River and in the case of Strike, they do not have a way for you to spend your Bitcoin other than Strike does, and Strike again is STRIKE.com. Strike does have a bill pay feature, so you can buy everything with a regular old credit card and then pay off your bill at the end of every month with a direct payment from your Bitcoin, and it will automatically convert your Bitcoin to US dollars to pay off your credit card. So that's a cool feature, but it's not, obviously you can't use it the same way you could with the Coinbase debit card where you can buy a cup of coffee and everything like that. Okay, so for people 18 years of age and older, Coinbase is categorically better. For people under the age of 18, I recommend Cash App or whatever app they already have. Okay, and then again, there's niche applications like River works really, really well for small and medium businesses, or Strike, because Coinbase for small and medium businesses or nonprofits requires a $1,000 non-refundable application fee to even apply for an account. And the process of getting a Coinbase account for a business or a nonprofit is very difficult. Having gone through it multiple times myself, it is very difficult. So for a small or medium business, or I should say for a small business or for a nonprofit, something like River is going to work a lot better. Or if you want even lower fees and you don't mind the minimalistic user interface and much more sort of skeletons, bare bones approach, then Strike will give you lower fees than River, but it doesn't have as good of a user interface on that. Okay, so where does other app possibilities come into play? The biggest one is for retirement accounts. So if you have retirement accounts, almost any kind of retirement account can be invested in Bitcoin, with the exception of your current employer 401k or 403b. Your current employer controls your current 401k or 403b if you are still employed with your current employer. As soon as you are no longer employed with your current employer, you can roll that 401k or 403b into a rollover IRA. And as soon as you roll it into a rollover IRA, if you do that on a platform like Fidelity, FIDELITY.com, Fidelity, they will allow you to buy one of the Bitcoin ETFs. The two biggest are, Fidelity has a Bitcoin ETF called FBTC. It's the Fidelity Wise Origin Bitcoin Fund. F as in Fidelity, BTC as in the first three consonants of the word Bitcoin, FBTC. And then BlackRock has a Bitcoin ETF called IBIT, I-B-I-T. The ticker symbol is IBIT. So the letter I, because it's part of their iShares suite of offerings, and BIT because it's the first three letters of the word Bitcoin. So if you want to invest retirement accounts in Bitcoin, the best way to do it is with a Bitcoin ETF, because that enables you to do it within the tax-advantaged wrapper. Now, if you are a very technical person, you can do self-custody, meaning you can hold the Bitcoin yourself with something called Unchained.com, but that is really not for the technological faint of heart. So if you are not comfortable with Bitcoin wallets and seed phrases and metal plate backups and all of that, then I recommend Fidelity, because the process of self-custody in retirement accounts on something like Unchained.com is just, for people who like that sort of thing and are, comfortable with pretty complex technological setups. And most people aren't. And so for most people, Fidelity is better. On Fidelity, you can set up an account and you can invest via a 529 plan or a 401k or a Roth IRA or a regular IRA. Basically, Fidelity will let you invest in Bitcoin in any of those as long as the are not a retirement account that is controlled by your employer. If your employer controls the retirement account, there's really nothing you can do about it unless you can, beg and plead your current employer to allow you to invest in Bitcoin. By default, Fidelity will allow people to invest up to 20%, up to 20% of their retirement in Bitcoin if the plan sponsor allows it. But the plan sponsor, meaning your employer, has to turn that on. So if Fidelity is where your 401k or 403b plan is currently housed, which your employer would know, or you should be getting statements that have Fidelity's name on them. If that is the case, you can invest those in Bitcoin if your employer will let you, and most of them do not because they just, it's new technology and employers normally do not allow their employees to invest in new innovative things. So anyway, but as long as that's not the case, if you have an IRA, a Roth IRA, an old 401k, an old 403b, a 529 plan, any of those can be moved over to Fidelity, and they will allow you to invest in Bitcoin. I presume the same is true with BlackRock or Franklin Templeton or any of the other major money managers. I just know it works with Fidelity because I've personally done it with Fidelity, and I haven't personally done it with those others, and so that's why I recommend Fidelity. I also recommend Fidelity because they custody the Bitcoin themselves, meaning they have an actual group that secures the Bitcoin on your behalf, rather than BlackRock uses Coinbase. And I love Coinbase. Coinbase is great, but obviously that means you're trusting BlackRock and Coinbase. And I like the one throat to choke approach to things, which is if something goes wrong at Fidelity, it's Fidelity's problem. I just don't want there to be finger pointing between BlackRock and, Coinbase if something goes wrong as to whose fault it is. And with Fidelity, you don't have to worry about that. Give me a second here. With Fidelity, you don't have to worry about that because they custody the Bitcoin themselves, so there's nobody to blame but themselves. So that's the quick rundown on those. So any type of retirement account or tax advantage account, you can do on Fidelity with FBTC or IBIT if you want to use the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. You can mix and match. You can buy the BlackRock ETF on the Fidelity platform. You can buy the Fidelity ETF on the BlackRock platform. But to keep it nice and clean and simple, I like to use the Fidelity platform because they've been pro-Bitcoin the longest, and they have a whole digital assets group that does really good research on Bitcoin and everything else. So they've been sort of pro-Bitcoin for a very long time. They are very sophisticated in the world of Bitcoin, and they custody the Bitcoin themselves, which BlackRock does not yet do. So I prefer Fidelity, and then I prefer buying a Fidelity product on the Fidelity platform, again, because it's just one throat to choke, and it just makes everything simpler. So to recap, again, easiest way for 18 and older is Coinbase. If you want the lowest possible fees on Coinbase, you can flip it to Coinbase Advanced. And if you want to know how to do that, and I can walk you through it step by step, just go to my Facebook page and type Coinbase Advanced. Just put that in quote marks. So a quote mark, then the word Coinbase, then a space, then the word Advanced, then another close quote mark. So it's quote mark, Coinbase Advanced, quote mark. That will search for only things that have the word Coinbase Advanced in them, where the word Coinbase and the word Advanced are together with a space between them, which will find the video I did about how to buy Bitcoin on Coinbase Advanced, which is the cheapest way you can possibly buy Bitcoin in the world. On Coinbase Advanced, there is no what's called a spread, which is basically a fee that they use to lock in trades on simple user interfaces. So there's no spread because you're interacting directly with the Coinbase order book, meaning you're actually buying and selling real time from real people. And Coinbase is obviously doing all that for you. But on Coinbase Advanced, they keep it, it's not super simple, but it's, most people can figure it out if they follow my Coinbase Advanced guide on how to buy Bitcoin. So Coinbase Advanced is the cheapest place, and all you have to do is flip it to advanced mode in the user interface. It's literally a button. You just hit the button and it flips it to advanced mode, and then everything is much cheaper as far as buying Bitcoin in advanced mode. So Coinbase is better for 18 and older. Cash App is best for under 18, but any of the other financial apps work as long as it will allow you to buy Bitcoin even as a minor, someone under the age of 18, and I think most of them will. I know Cash App will. I think the others ones will as well. Okay, so let's see. Next up, if you are not using Fidelity or BlackRock or something like that for retirement accounts, I definitely recommend you store your Bitcoin for the long term on Bitkey. bitkey.world is the website. That website again is www.bitkey.world. Bitkey.world. That is by far the safest and most secure place to store Bitcoin for the long term. If you're using a retirement account, you don't have to worry about it because Fidelity or BlackRock has very secure processes for how they store that Bitcoin, but there's no reason you have to trust them. I always prefer if everybody just custodies, meaning stores, the Bitcoin themselves. And Bitkey is super simple, super straightforward. You basically can't screw it up. It's virtually impossible to lose your Bitcoin somehow if you have a trusted contact set up, and it guides you through that process. As long as you have at least one trusted contact set up, basically it's completely impossible that, it's not completely, it's 99.9999999% impossible for you to mess it up. I mean, it's just literally, it's dummy proof, it's idiot proof, it's child proof, it's beautiful. So that's what I recommend is Bitkey for long-term storage. Again, unless for a retirement account, you don't have to worry about it because Fidelity or BlackRock is storing the Bitcoin for you, and you just log in to access it through their web interface. But obviously that doesn't give you the same sort of direct access to Bitcoin of something like Coinbase where you own it directly. So let me see. I think that is all the ways. We've covered Coinbase, the other apps. We covered Strike and River. We've covered retirement accounts with Fidelity. And we've covered long-term storage if you're using something like Coinbase or any of the others. If you're using anything other than retirement accounts, or I should say another category is just brokerage accounts. So any platform, almost any platform, where you can buy any stock, you can also buy one of the Bitcoin ETFs. So if you have a brokerage account, and a brokerage account is just any account that lets you buy and sell stocks and bonds and things like that. For example, Robinhood is a brokerage account because you can buy and sell stocks and bonds. And most of the other financial apps let you buy some stocks and bonds as well. Any of those, pretty much any of those, will allow you to buy Bitcoin in one of the Bitcoin ETFs. So just like on Fidelity with retirement accounts, you can buy FBTC or IBIT, which is the Bitcoin wrapped inside a tradable stock sort of wrapper. You can also do the same with a brokerage account, even if it's not part of a retirement account. You can just go into your brokerage account, and just like you can buy AMZN, which is Amazon, or GOOG, which is Google, or MSFT, which is Microsoft, just like you can buy any of those in a brokerage account, you can also buy FBTC or IBIT the same way. So if you have a brokerage account and you prefer to do it that way, that's a great way to buy Bitcoin as well. Again, I always prefer the more direct ownership because you're just not dependent on other people. You're not dependent on other things. So the best, most advanced way is to, like if somebody said, I want to do this perfectly, like how do I buy Bitcoin and custody it the most perfect way that a human possibly could, I would say buy it on Coinbase. And if you want the lowest possible fees, that would be Coinbase Advanced, and then transfer it to Bitkey. And as long as you have a trusted contact set up on Bitkey, then you're great. And if you want to spend that Bitcoin, you can do that with the Coinbase debit card. And, and then you can spend Bitcoin just the same way you could buy anything with a debit card. So that's the cheapest way is Coinbase, and the most secure way is storage on Bitkey. So Bitkey will also let you buy and sell Bitcoin on their platform, but the fees are much higher if you do that within Bitkey. It's much better to buy the Bitcoin on Coinbase or somewhere else and then transfer it to Bitkey. Bitkey integrates with Coinbase, Cash App, Robinhood, Strike, and some others. It integrates with a lot of them. That makes it super easy to transfer the Bitcoin. So let me know if you have any questions about any of this, or if I somehow forgot any of the major platforms I could have. If so, ask me in the comments and I will answer any other platform as far as how best and easiest to buy Bitcoin. Hopefully all this helps. Thanks, everyone.